Fredericton from CHCD TV, Canada's Huggable Car Dealer TV studio on St. Mary Street. We have the one and only Mike Mallory, chair of TEC 390 and TEC 391.
Glad to be here, Jim.
Mike, you started TEC in New Brunswick about 10 years ago.
10 years ago this October.
10 years ago this October. I would say I had the pleasure of saying that I'm your longest alumni member. I was the first.
Longest standing member, yeah.
I was the first, I believe, that said yes, was I? Or
you were actually the second, but the first is no longer in TEC. 4 of the original 6 are still in the program, and you are the longest standing of the 4.
So I'm the longest standing TEC member of TEC 390 in New Brunswick, actually in Atlantic Canada, because we had nothing in Atlantic Canada.
Yeah.
Furthest east Quebec was before you started was
Montreal.
Montreal. So
Yeah.
from Montreal this way, I'm there with you. And over the last 10 years, we've come a long way.
Quite a journey.
It's
I
been
don't
quite a
think we
journey.
had this TV station 10 years ago, Jim.
No, we never had a TV station 10 years ago. We learned a lot over the last 10 years. TEC's all about learning from your peers. There's 16 of us in the group normally, with Mike being the chair. And we bring in the best speakers in the world monthly. They spend 3 hours going over what's going on in the world, the best
Top minds, yeah. Top minds in on specific subjects, so that they don't just talk about their memoirs. They have a specific topic that they talk about, and that's where the value is, I think, from those speakers.
I can honestly say, Mike, for myself, that sometimes no, this is a fact. TEC gives us an unfair advantage because as we're listening to the best speakers in the world, and as we're sharing information among our 16 top business people in New Brunswick, a week or 2 years later you hear something and you're thinking, well, doesn't everybody know the answer? And no, they don't. We only know the answer because the best of the world has shared it with us, or amongst ourselves we have shared our issues and our problems and helped each other through.
And to your point, I think we tend to take it for granted sometimes.
Yeah.
And but yeah, no, it's true. We are exposed to things that most people are not, and that's a great advantage.
And it's actually, being a TEC member, I'm saying this, it's actually probably one of the most difficult parts of it is, not that we're smarter or nothing, but we actually have heard or seen so much more than 99% of the business people in New Brunswick that.
Well, if I could go back to your experience, Jim, you've been in the program 10 years. I think you've missed 2 meetings in 10 years. So we have 8 speakers a year. There have been 80 speakers that you've been, so 78 because you missed 2 meetings.
One was a no speaker meeting.
Oh, was okay, 79. So 79, if you think about the impact of having 79 speakers who are experts on a specific topic, how do you replace that?
Yeah, this monthly, like this knowledge after knowledge, and it compounds because as one speaker speaks, he's actually, even though they're specific items, there's so much in business that flows through each other. Like it's a parallel set. Flat Earth Society, that Flat Earth idea, and there's so much stuff run in parallel. I believe it's called that, or is it called parallel? I think, isn't it? And when they're talking about one subject, there's stuff on another subject that we're gaining knowledge of through that subject, if it makes any sense. Like, we've had 2 guys now, I believe, that climbed Mount Everest speak to us.
That's right.
You know, and they're sharing their experience, but they also took those experiences into the business world. And now they're very, very successful business people that have learned what it took to live through Mount Everest.
But the most satisfying thing to me, Jim, is to see what has transpired in the businesses of like yours, because the transformation of this business has been phenomenal in 10 years. I mean, I can't even think of how small or what a different business it was 10 years ago, and how this business has flourished. And now you're into succession. You've got your kids running the show. That's another transformation.
And that was through TEC that gave us the tools and the
certainly
ideas
helped,
and the thoughts. What the next step of that was, it made it seamless.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, as you do, like I said, wheels and deals, like I can remember, you telling me one day if you only, 1%, just 1%, you're thinking, oh geez, yeah, you turn that in 1% on top of 1%, and all of a sudden you got your own TV studio.
Yeah, and the other, the other businesses that you've come, that have been in there with you have had similar kinds of transformation. That's really the fun part and the gratifying part. The the statistics show that companies that are involved in tech grow at a rate of approximately 3 times the rate of companies that are not involved. In fact, it's 3 times the rate of the same companies before they join tech. And when you see the program, you see why, because you come away from every meeting with some ideas, and you take them and you implement them, and people that don't get that exposure, those new ideas just don't come into their business.
Yeah, you're not doing what everybody else is doing. You're the leader. If you're a tech member, you become the leader in your category, in your area, especially in New Brunswick, where it's we have a small business community. And when we do it, it's not like we're in a large city where there's a whole bunch, there's say so many more businesses doing stuff. When you do it, you are the leader most of the time.
Yeah.
And we're actually, I believe through tech, we not only lead our business and made it very successful, but other businesses that watch us and they look at us and they say, oh, what's he doing? What's he doing? We've actually have helped other
Brought up the whole industry.
Like other businesses has got better by copying what we did, and they don't probably realize how valuable, how important we are to their growth. Even though we're their competition, they'd like to get rid of us probably, but we actually are making them successful because they're watching and following our lead on some of the stuff. I see it in my industry every day.
I think it's true in your industry, yeah.
I see like the car industry in Fredericton has certainly, in the last 10 years, has certainly got a lot better, and everybody wants, what's Jim doing next, what's Jim doing, but I think that made everybody better, but I've seen it in a lot of industries and businesses in our tech groups.
Yep.
We have many, and not only that, I know we're going to run short of time here, and I'm sharing my experience here, so Mike can share it on, but tech teaches us to look at stuff from 10,000 feet, so we stop working in our business and we start working on our business, and when the minute you work on your business instead of in your business, that's when the growth, and that's the explosion. But to say it and do it are two different things, and that's not an overnight thing.
No, it isn't, and I think that's probably what I see is the first step for everybody that joins tech, is to get them in a position where they can get out of the weeds and get some good people around them that can look after all the things that have to take place in the business, so they can extricate themselves and think and plan and be strategic, as opposed to just fighting the alligators all day long.
Yeah, and that actually, somebody asked me, they said, Jim, how long did it take for you? I'm going to tell them, for me, it probably took like 3 or 4 years.
I probably did, yeah.
You took, if this is going to telling myself, it took me 3 or 4 years to realize I had to get out of my own way to be successful. But tech taught me that. I wouldn't have got out of my own way without tech. My daughter Chelsea is in Tech 391, so she joined watching that I get out of my own way, and I can see she's already at the age of 30 running a business that at the age of 50, she has experience and knowledge that I had to gain the hard way at 50 from tech and from our experience and what we did in previous years because of tech, I would say. So there's
she's got a great head start,
yeah.
and I mean, the job she's done has been phenomenal too. I mean, she's putting her own stamp on the business already.
And they're kicking me out, and I like that. I don't mind leaving. I'm the project. I'm the fire. I'm not the little fire putter out anymore. I deal with no little fires. I deal with the forest fires when they're out of control. Other than that, I don't worry about spot fires in the forest. And I'm their project man, which is fun because it's like being semi-retired, you get on a project, takes a week, then you can have 2 or 3 weeks, or you do what you want, you come back, jump in a project, leave. This room was my project. Like, I'm having a lot of fun in life right now. You know, every once in a while they need me back into work to kind of get the old army going again, but other than that, they don't want me, which was all taught to us from tech.
Well, that was the plan. You've done that very well. Not every succession is a difficult issue,
Right.
and you know, in a family business, it's often the demise of the business, and you've handled that very well.
Well, I had good people, but good training from tech. Like, that's where, if Chelsea wasn't in Tech 391, could I be sitting here interviewing you, thinking about going off to LA on Saturday? No. That's the bottom line. I can be living a life that most people really dream of living, and I always dreamed of living because of my involvement in tech.
It's really created, the business is very stable. The business has been, I would say, stable probably for 5 or 6 years, where the right people have been in place, and you could leave for a while, and you know, it would carry on, and it has a nice growth rate. You know, the business is getting better every year, and catastrophes don't happen anymore. You
No.
know, and you know, great big panic events, that doesn't happen anymore. The business is really stabilized, and that's very nice to see.
And you talk about catastrophes and panic events. I think I got to keep bragging up tech because it means so much to me. But tech has taught us from the 10,000 foot level to understand there's no catastrophic events no more. Like, there's hills and valleys, and we know if there's a valley, we're going to have a hill. So we know that, like, we know it, yes, it might rain today, but we know the sun's going to come out tomorrow, the next day. So you work through the rain, the sun's coming. Like, years ago when I was in business, you know, how are we gonna open tomorrow? Well, once you get involved in tech, those thoughts are gone, because you know tomorrow's gonna come. You might have a bad day, tomorrow's gonna get better. So actually, tomorrow can get better because you can work on it when in the rain, knowing that, you know, it's all, if that makes any sense what I'm saying, the tech taught us that. Because when you're looking at it from up here instead of fighting from down there, when you're in the trenches and water's coming and your feet are wet, when you're at 10,000 feet, you're watching water come in, you can see that you got to get the dam way up there, and that's the difference. If that makes
Sense, yeah.
So, Mike, we talked a little longer than we want, but this is a great tech's a great success story for not only me but for a lot of businesses in New Brunswick. And Mike, we owe it all to you, because if you hadn't went out on that day, you showed up at my office and we were going to get this tech group going. I was reading a Brian Tracy book that said if you ever get a chance to get in a mastermind group, you got to get in it. You know, all the great speakers, they all tell us that the same thing. You know, we got to get in mastermind groups. We got to get and before I sign off, the next best thing about tech, besides everything else we did, is we're in a group of 16 different businesses. So it's not like that I sit in with 10 other car dealers all complaining about our problems that day. I'm in with 15 other people, complete different businesses, and we're hearing their positive side and their issues and how we work through them and how we make them grow and how we can all grow. So we're learning from a lot of from 16 different big segments of the economy, and that actually, that's like rocket fuel, like, really, it is.
Oh, it's one of the cornerstones of the program.
Yeah.
Diversity is important. It's not an industry group. It's a group of CEOs.
Yeah, and that's actually that is a cornerstone of that program, because you don't realize how important that is. So without further ado, we're going to sign off from CHCD TV, but we're going to give Mike Mallory the last words. You got a minute, Mike, to tell us all how great life is and how great tech is.
Well, I look back on 10 years and the satisfaction of seeing what's happened in businesses like yours, Jim, and the growth and the not only the growth of the business, but the growth of the individual, and the just the peace of mind of having a stable business and having it in the kind of condition that it's in. Tech is works not only on the growth of the business but also on the life of the individual, and to see where you are personally, Jim, that's very gratifying.
Thank you, Mike. And from Canada's Huggable Car Dealer, here live at the studio in Fredericton, New Brunswick on St. Mary Street, Mike Mallory and Jim Gilbert.